First and foremost, everybody, thank you for allocating time out of your mornings, out of your afternoons, and potentially even evenings. I know we have some registries from uh, as far as Australia as well. So thank you for connecting for another CMO Peer Talks episode. Today we will be covering review and CX strategies for local growth with a Google Diamond expert. For those of you who are tuning in for the first time for a CMO Peer Talks, feel free to scan the QR code. We host these events typically on a monthly cadency with different topics, different agendas, different experts joining. So feel free to scan to stay in track with all of the upcoming events. Without further ado, I would love to introduce Ben Fisher. He's a Google Business Profile Diamond product expert with steady demand. So Ben, I'll pass the stage to you, let you get an introduction in.
All right, sounds good. Hi, everybody. My name is Ben Fisher. I'm a Google Business Profile Diamond Products expert, the owner of Steady Demand, which is a local SEO company, basically full service. And one of the specialties that we have is working with franchises. I feel for you all, absolutely, in your day-to-day lives. And so basically we work with franchises, especially in the aspect of helping with Google Business Profiles and all of the complexities that come with that, and of local service ads if you deal in the services industry.
Ben, thank you. For those who have yet to meet me, my name is Alex Harbinyoff. I'm the Senior Marketing Consultant at Promo Republic. Been in the franchise space a little bit over 5 years, but I feel like there's something new to learn every single day with how fast technology and the landscape changes. Outside of work, I'm a father to one as of right now, hope to have more in the near future. Passionate about scuba diving, took up mountain biking recently, and love a good bite of food. So if anybody wants to connect on the personal level, happy to do so as well. Based out of sunny Wilmington, North Carolina, which got some surprising snow last week, which is probably the first time in a decade that we did have that. So without further ado, let's get started. As always, with every CMO Peer Talks, we are hosted by Promo Republic. Promo Republic, for those of you who don't know yet, is a marketing partner for franchise and multi-location businesses. We help to expand their locations by balancing the corporate identity with engaging, community-focused marketing. Currently a partner of over 100 franchise and multi-location business brands and powering over 25,000 local locations. We are providing our partners with a data-driven solution, a multi-location marketing platform, an AI-driven workflow that helps bring automation and driving local marketing adoption to activate your franchisees. Without further ado, let's take it away. Ben, we will be doing a pretty unique format. We've pulled and surveyed out the attendees that registered for today's events with some high-level questions that they'd love to get your expertise on. So to get the show on the road, I'll stop my screen share and let's start off with topic number one, which is how to optimize and leverage Google Business Profile for better visibility and enabling customer trust.
Yeah, absolutely. So, when people, all right, when you look at a Google Business Profile, right? I just actually recently saw this stat from actually one of our franchise partners. 86% of their leads and sales actually come directly from their Google Business Profile. If you're in the services business, roofing, plumbing, HVAC, etc., the number of is actually even higher because it is tied directly to your local services ads campaigns as well. So it is a free product from Google. This is absolutely true. Um, and the thing is that Google's goal, and this is important to understand, with GBP is to kind of balance the needs of merchants, yourself, and consumers, your customers. So customers want to find a good solution. You want to find great customers. And this is where GBP kind of sits. So when it comes to optimizing your GBP, though, there's actually not a lot that you can do. And this kind of throws people off um, very quickly. And for instance, we see a lot of franchises will try to stick keywords in their review responses, in their descriptions, in their custom services, in all sorts of areas, in their titles of their businesses. And these keywords actually don't help at all. Most of the features of your Google Business Profile are actually centered around conversion and actually trying to help the consumer understand if they should contact you and do some kind of business with you. So let's talk about really quickly what helps when it comes to ranking and conversion. So when it comes to ranking, basically there are just a couple things. Number one is going to be your address, believe it or not. Wherever your address is, whether you are a service based business or a brick and mortar, that is actually going to be the central point that Google sees and will figure out basically if they should show you to somebody or not. So if you are based in El Cajon, California, this is where you're going to rank. If you're a service area based business, it's going to rank between 2 to 5 miles on average. This is not a hard, fast rule, by the way. If you're a storefront, it's going to be about 5 to 10 miles. It's just based on user intent, basically, more than anything else. For instance, if you're looking for a plumber near me doesn't really matter, actually, as a query. If you're looking for, say, a lawyer near me, or personal injury lawyer near me, or something like that, might actually matter, right? Because you're going to may go to their office. So the first thing, again, address. And there are actually in the franchise world, there are some really excellent techniques that you can use to expand your territory. You may have 15, 20, 100, whatever zip codes, basically based on your franchise agreement. And you start with your first location, and then you're like, okay, well, how do I rank over here? Well, adding a new location actually is a great strategy as long as you do it within Google's guidelines. And we should definitely be talking about that later, Alex. So, address being number one. Name of your business. Number two. Very interesting, actually, in the franchise world. This kind of I see this as different than probably almost any other corporations that we work with. And I see pretty commonly that franchises will attempt to name themselves as, you know, XYZ franchise of San Diego or of Los Angeles or of whatever. Um, and usually the motivation for that at the franchise level is to differentiate the location from other locations and try to make it so that it's different from maybe a nearby other franchisee. Mostly franchisees will look at this and the franchisor will look at this and say, well, that's the only way we can really tell the franchisees from each other. And this is actually incorrect. In GBP, there's a feature under advanced settings called labels, and you can put any label you want in there. Don't put keywords. Google doesn't care. But you can easily put San Diego. You can easily put any zip code you want. And the GPP manager, which has nothing to do with ranking, will know it. So you can easily find it within the GPP manager. The other thing is that what's really important to understand, and most don't, is that by when you put in your address for verification, whether you're a service area based business or a storefront, Google knows where you're located. So Google is going to rank you accordingly based again on that address. So by putting these keywords into your business name on GBP, you're doing a couple things. You're putting a target on your back because now your competitors can easily report you to Google for basically a guidelines violation. Guideline violation comes in many different flavors, but in this case, the violation is going to be that your name most likely does not match, say, your business license, your Secretary of State, your DBA, most importantly. Um, and so, therefore, by adding keywords to your business name, which is what that is, you are violating their guidelines. And if you're violating their guidelines, you can easily be suspended. I have seen entire networks of franchisors go completely dark, meaning 70%, 80% of their Google Business Profile listings get suspended overnight simply because of adding keywords to their business name. So if you're going to do it right. If you are a ZOR, make sure that your agreement states that your franchisees cannot add or modify their business name without permission from you, basically. And if you are a Z, stop going rogue. Stop adding keywords. Stop doing harm, basically, to yourself. The next thing is going to be reviews. From a review standpoint, it's pretty simple, actually. The keywords in the review and the keywords in the response to reviews are not going to help you rank. These are customer experience things more than anything else. They are a conversion point more than anything else. And they do create those little oval, what we call chips at the top when people are looking at you on mobile. They do create those, but they don't help with ranking. So don't be, when you're replying to a review, don't stick keywords into those reviews. They're not going to help you rank. Think more about the customer. Think more importantly about who is going to read these reviews and the review responses after. Who is going to be that next customer? What do they need to see? They need to understand, how are you going to treat them? This is the only interaction that they have with you before they contact you. And so that's why that's extremely important. You may have less reviews than your competitor, and that's fine. As long as you have a good response to these reviews, somebody's going to reach out to you. It doesn't have, the number doesn't matter. It's really about the experience. The next thing is going to be something that you really don't have a ton of control over as a Z. As a ZOR, definitely. And that's going to be the website page that you are linking to. The website page that you're linking to should be the highest in organic search. With a Z and a ZOR, usually it's going to be their location page. And this is totally fine. As the ZOR or the Z, depending on your structure, focus your ranking and your organic efforts on these location pages. One of the things that I see with the most successful Zs is where the ZOR allows.
Ben, we
Where,
lost you there for the second.
yeah, I know. So where the ZOR allows you to modify. I'm sorry, is Daria pinned, by the way? Just so you know. It looks like it. So,
You're pinned.
all right, cool.
Perfect.
So anyway, where the ZOR allows you to modify your landing page and also allows you, more importantly, to add sub pages. I've seen both types of situations where the ZOR controls the website 100%, and where also the Zora allows the franchisee to add content. The Zora that allows usually for a Z to add content to their quote unquote sites are the ones that actually are more successful. They're the ones who can control. They're the ones who can control basically the organic SEO experience.
Ben, sorry to cut you off for a second. We're getting some pretty bad static from your microphone. It might be the headphones.
That is new. Well, give me a second. I'll reset. Give me a minute. How is that, everybody?
Still a little bit
Really?
like a crackling static. Christine, thank you for pointing that out. I thought that was on my end.
How is that?
A little bit better. Still some
All right,
crackle though.
try one more thing.
Sometimes technology works for us and sometimes against us.
This will be the first time I've heard that in probably about 100 webinars. How's that? How are we doing, everybody? Can you hear me?
Still crackling.
Really? All right. I'm going to refresh Zoom. I'll be right back.
In the meantime, while Ben is jumping off, curious if everybody could drop in the comments. Where's everybody connecting in from? How's everybody's energies today?
All right. How are we doing now?
Brisk and good. Let me repin you.
Excellent. So refresh worked. Yay. All right. Given that, the crackling, would anybody like me to recover anything I've discussed so far? Doesn't look like it. All right, cool. Okay, got it. Cool, excellent. All right. Well, hey, technology, gotta love it. All right, where were we? Website. Yes. So basically, the franchisees that I've seen that have done the best are the ones where the Zora does allow you to edit and basically add content to your website. Specifically, if you're able to add like service pages and things that you offer. A lot of Zoras, unfortunately, they do like the control and they do like to say, okay, well, here's the pages and every Z is going to get the exact same content. Um, I really don't believe in that. I believe that you give that to a franchisee to begin with, and then you should allow either a vendor or the franchisee to create more content. Google needs content. And in the world that we are living in today, hate to say it, with AI, you need to create content. You have to create content. Creating content is what controls the narrative, especially with AI overviews and things of that nature. So, so if you're a Z, make sure your Zora allows you to create content. And if you're a Zora, allow your Zs to create content and just create a control system, basically, more than anything, so you can approve the content. Next thing is going to be your category. You can't really change your category. Your category is what you do, not who you are. It's who you are, not what you do. Your category is going to pretty much be set. If you're a restaurant, you're a restaurant. If you're a plumber, you're a plumber. So you kind of can't get away from that. The only exception is if you have a seasonal business like an HVAC company where you're going to be a heater at one point of the year, a heating company at one point of the year, and you're going to be so anyway, and you're going to change that maybe once per year, but that's it. Beyond that, when it comes to reviews, The first 10 reviews that you get are going to give you a ranking bump. The second 100 reviews that you get are going to give you a ranking bump as well. But beyond that, there is no scientific data that shows how reviews are going to help you rank. They are more a customer experience type of thing, a conversion type of thing, meaning that when somebody is looking for a company, they want to see a company that does have a lot of reviews, but more importantly, they want to see a company that has a decent number of positive reviews. If you have a couple bad reviews, it's okay. Don't worry about it. Nobody wants to hire a 5-star company. There is no such thing as a 5-star company. Let's be real about this. Everybody has a bad day. Everybody has at least one or two bad experiences. Let's face that. So, what do we do about it? The most important thing that you can do about it is reply to every single review that you get, positive and negative. Most importantly, negative. And when you're replying to these reviews, again, keywords don't matter. What you want to do is you want to reply in more of the fashion that who's going to read it next? Your review response is not for the person who left your review. They already had the experience. It's for somebody else. It's for me, the customer. I'm coming in, I'm trying to see how you behave and how am I going to be treated, more importantly. So always respond courteous, sympathetic, understanding, and thankful. Even if it's a bad review, you can still say thank you for the review, by the way. Um, and in some industries, there can be a large amount of these reviews, and that's fine. Um, just make sure that you are responding to them. And speaking of AI again, use AI. Use AI to generate these review responses. And what I mean by that is that you should not be responding with thank you, period, done. Okay. Because let's say you're a restaurant or a hotel or something of that nature, you're going to get a ton of reviews. And it can be a monumental task to keep up with this. And you don't want to give this to somebody who's a low level intern or something like that. Actually want to be able to respond. You want to read those reviews. You want to, of course, address concerns, but use AI. You can train an AI session to respond to a review in a much very more compassionate way, um, more customer servicey, I should say, and it will help you a lot. It'll generate responses that you would probably never even think of yourself, and they don't actually look like they were generated by AI, which is even better. And more importantly, and I see a lot of franchisees do this, the responses are not the same. Thank you for your review. We appreciate your business. That doesn't instill a ton of confidence at all, actually. I would rather not do business with you if I see a review response like that. So you do need to make it more flowery. Again, use AI. It's there for a good reason. Um, the next thing is going to be is something called your services. There's an area aspect of GBP which is called services, and they usually come with predefined services. These are services based on your category more than anything else. And when you're first setting up your GBP, they're going to be there. However, you can add custom services. Now, both the services and the custom services can impact ranking. As a matter of fact, we just recently released a case study that I did actually, believe it or not, about a year and a half ago. And what I did is looked at custom services and I said, okay, well, will this affect ranking? And I didn't expect it to. It was for an extermination company, actually. And added the custom services. Lo and behold, 72 hours, they started ranking for these keywords, long tail keywords. And I took them out. They disappeared. Put them back in. They came back. Amazing. put them back and left them there, came back about a year later, they're still ranking for those keywords. So takes 5 minutes to do this, by the way, maybe, and can actually have some really great dividends, especially for your long tail keywords. I think we're going to stop there because we just took a half an hour on ranking.
A lot of good context, a lot of good context. So I'd say my key takeaways there would be it's all about the naming convention, the proximity to where you're willing to service your customers, having a steady approach to be customer centric to processing your reviews. Ben, you brought up a good point about GBP guidelines and how you can maximize your ranking if you want to expand your territory. Can you share some of
Yeah,
those best practices?
absolutely. So I developed this technique, I'd say probably about 5 years ago. And more recently, I'd say about 3 years ago for the service based industry. Like, for instance, helping garage door companies actually get a presence on Google Maps with a pin and not just being a service area based business. When it comes to the guidelines, they're very strict as far as opening locations and having a pin on Google Maps. Now, why is a pin important? A pin is going to be important not just because people are going to come visit you, but it's more important because from a ranking perspective, Google favors storefronts. That's where they started. Um, and so, but how do you give a storefront to a service-based business? And actually, I'm kind of curious for all of you that are in the audience, how many of you are service-based or in the service-based industry versus a storefront? Just, go ahead and throw it into the chat, please. But if you're not, then it's a challenge, right? So, but one of the things that you can, there you go, and thank you, Amanda. Um, so the challenge is like, okay, so yeah, home based, exactly right. Service with the office front, okay, excellent, right? So, Steve, you've got an advantage because you are service with an office. But the home base, so either way, it doesn't really matter. Um, Setting up a new office is usually a little bit of a challenge, right? You've got to do a couple different things. And the first thing I like to say is that you need to start looking at it from a business perspective first, not a ranking perspective. If you think about it as a ranking perspective first, this is not going to work for you. Okay, you're going to lose money. The first thing you need to do is think about it from the capex. How much is it going to cost me? How much is it going to cost me to throw up a new location, basically? So that's step one, because there's a lot of different steps in throwing up a new location, by the way. I mean, it's not just easy, right? You've got to find a place, you've got to lease the place, you've got to get new services, new phone lines, new internet access, etc. You've got to register with the Secretary of State, get a business license, all sorts of little things. And so that's number one. Number two, where? Where am I going to put this office in the first place? That is actually the most important decision that you can make. So, how do we do this? The first thing is you need to use a tool. And this tool is only going to give you an idea of whether this location is actually going to be a good location or not. So I'll use a tool like Bright Local or Local Falcon or something of that nature, or Places Scout, which can give me a nice grid, basically, of my current ranking. So the grid might be, say, 7 square miles. Okay. You're always going to rank number one right at the center of the grid. And then as you go out, there's going to be fall off. And so out of the 7 miles, you're going to have 3.5 miles on both sides. You're going to notice that this little area over here, for instance, this is where your fall off is. And why we're doing this in the first place is because every metro is different. Every single metro. If you're in a small metro, you're going to rank farther. If you're in a big metro, you're going to rank smaller. That's just the nature of it. More people, more competition. So you do this, you divide it in half. as far as your 3.5, and you look at where the fall off is, that is where you want to put down your next location. Why? Very simple. Originating location, or I'm sorry, originating where you are, where you want to be, coverage. It's that easy. You can also, of course, look at your competition. If you have competition that's been in the in another location for more than a year, you can pretty much assume that they're probably doing pretty well, or at least they're covering their bills. Secondary, get a tracking phone number. 100% always get a tracking phone number. If your Zora doesn't give you one, get one. This is going to let you know if your GBP is actually producing results or not. At the end of the day, that's what you want to know, right? Are you getting new leads and are you converting those new leads? Again, this is all business decisions at the end of the day, not ranking decisions. And so, so basically, I mean that is the basics of how you do it. How do you keep all of this in the guidelines? Very simple. If you're going to be opening up a new location, let's say you are a service-based service, and by the way, I talk about service-based businesses because the difference between service and storefront is just the address, really, at the end of the day. But really, at the so what you're going to want to do is make sure that the biggest question I get is do I have to have people at this location? Because the guidelines do state that your hours should represent when people are actually able to come and see you. Believe it or not, the answer is no. You don't have to have somebody there all the time. If you're a service-based business, then basically what I recommend is have one of your people who does the work. If they're not working, have them go to the office. Very simple. Hire an intern. Have a family member. Whatever it is. Have somebody there. You don't have to have somebody there all the time because the reasoning is that Google's not going to check. This is reality. Google does not have the bandwidth, nor do they care, actually. So, so have somebody there every once in a while. And the reason is because you want to defend against people like me, meaning that people who can take you off of Google Maps and get you suspended. But the truth of the matter is, I'm not there. I don't have anybody on the ground. And if I did have somebody on the ground, it's not going to like I'm going to be able there until 24 hours a day, whether you are. The other thing is if you do have, say, a service line which is answered 24 hours a day, that's usually also acceptable. So, so don't worry too much about that. Worry more about, can I get it? Is it going to make me money? And getting the documentation in place so that if you are to become suspended, you can get back up and online quickly.
And a lot of
Tony.
great thoughts. As a personal follow-up question, if let's say you're not servicing customers as a service area based business within your location, wouldn't it make sense within Google to highlight and check off the box that we don't service customers here? Or is that something that would have a negative impact to your local ranking?
So if I think I'm understanding your question properly, if you are a service area based business and you are opening up a storefront, then of course you're going to select that you do service customers here. If you select, again, let's just say you're in the guidelines, okay? And you do have this showroom, you wouldn't want to select that you basically are a service area based business, which is what you basically have described. Because yes, it would affect your ranking big time. Again, 2 to 5 miles for a service area based business, 5 to 10 miles for a storefront. That's a huge difference.
Agreed.
And of course, as a Z, you have, your zip codes, right? And your territory basically. Um, Roxanne has a question about what about by appointment only at an office or a showroom? And it's a great question, Roxanne. Appointment only businesses are not actually allowed on Google Maps. However, again, very, very, very difficult for Google to figure this out. There is no scalable way for Google to understand whether you're appointment based only or not. One of the biggest mistakes that you can make is to put on your, say, door or whatever your signage is that you're appointment only. Again, people like me can take you down from Google simply because you did that. As a matter of fact, it gets worse. And here's why is that if I'm, say, I don't know, a customer and you're showing your address on Google Maps and I come to your actual location, I don't know, let's say 10 p.m., nobody's there. All right, you've really pissed me off at this point. I'm upset, right? I just traveled halfway across town. I'm looking to get, I don't know, a safe unlocked or whatever, right? Like, say you're a locksmith. And I see by appointment only. Well, what am I going to do? If I'm savvy enough, I will take a picture of your door that says by appointment only, and I will upload that to Google Maps with my review. Not only will my review show up at the top, by the way, that's a tip, pictures and videos, reviews will go to the top. Um, but also Google will learn from this, and Google may suspend you. But the worst thing is that now everybody who looks at your reviews sees that basically you are not telling the truth. You're not a storefront. You're by appointment only. And so therefore, of course, it's going to hurt your business, basically, is what it's going to do. So basically, if you're appointment only, make sure you don't put it on your signage. Don't do that. What I would do is like I said, is to have somebody there maybe some of the time, but absolutely have an answering service that will always answer the phone. Always. Reality. Let's look at that very quickly. And that is that I like to encourage Z's to take a look at their phone logs. Again, this all comes back to business ideas, concepts. Take a look at your phone logs. When do people actually call you? If you look at it and you're really realistic about it, you're not probably getting phone calls at 2 o'clock in the morning. Your phone calls stop at a certain time or they fall off drastically. Those should be your hours. End. Full stop. While you may not rank after that time when your hours show you as off, that's okay because nobody's looking for you. That's all. Period. So don't worry about the fear of missing out. Stick to the guidelines as close as possible because I can tell you this, if you have not been suspended before, you don't want to be suspended. Because being suspended means you can be off of Google Maps for weeks or maybe even months. Think about the impact to your business about being suspended. And it can cost you thousands of dollars and get you to a point where you have to fire people, sell off assets, etc., close storefronts. It's a real thing, unfortunately, with Google. So stick to those guidelines as close as possible. We have another question. What if your service area is much larger, like multi-county, sometimes multi-state, like 50-mile radius? Any tips for ranking in 50 miles? Yeah, 50 miles? Absolutely, John. Again, the first place you're going to look is you're going to look at your competitors. Where do your competitors have storefronts or service-based businesses? And so that's number one. If they've been there for more than 6 months, maybe a year, they're doing fine. Plop down anywhere nearby them. The next thing is going to be is cities. Look for major metros where your customers actually are, and that's where you want to start looking at locations. Use the map trick I was talking about. Um, After you've gone ahead and opened up a location, of course, or use your map trick against your competitors. So, whatever kind of base business they are, just use it. Take a look at their ranking. You can see their fall off, and it'll give you a little bit of an idea as to where it might be a good place to throw down a location. But usually, it's going to be in like a major metro more than anything else. You're not going to want to open up the location, of course, in the middle of, I don't know, say a farming community or something like that, unless that's your business. Just saying. All right.
And then if I'm understanding that correctly, so if you want to have a nice large radius, as John's referring to, let's say 50 miles, strategically you would have more than one storefront.
Absolutely. I have had customers who have had over up to 20 to 40 locations actually.
Okay. Good insights, good to know. We have a question from the attendees that was sent over email. Their service area business that is no longer showing up as their service area, but a specific point. Is there something that they can do to fix that? Meaning they're being visualized as a pin, as a storefront, as opposed to the counties, the postal codes that they're servicing.
Got it. Yeah, that's actually a pretty easy question. What you're looking at here is very simple. Is inside of your Google Business profile. Yeah, actually, Roxanne, this is actually a bug that Google has currently. So, but the fix is actually pretty simple. What you want to do is you want to go into your GBP under where it says your location. You'll go ahead and select basically that you do not see customers. It's a little toggle, and that it will hide your address as a service area based business. The thing is that when you make this change, the possibility of you being suspended is actually really high. And again, being suspended is one of the worst things that can happen to you on your Google Business profile. So, what you want to do is you want to make sure that you have all of your documentation in place, everything. At the very minimum, you need two legal documents that have your business name as your DBA and your address. But actually, what only thing that matters is the service area of your verification address. This can be a business license, it can be a utility bill, things of that nature, right? And so basically, your legal documentation needs to line up. We actually have a service that we have, which is called my business assurance, which helps companies, and we work with tons of franchisees on this to basically vet their locations and make sure that they are in compliance with Google's guidelines, and also at the same time that they have all of their documentation set up correctly. So if they do get suspended, they get back up online quickly. We created the service when we realized that only 4% of businesses actually have their documentation set up correctly. So basically, we developed the service specifically because of that. And I'm getting some more good questions. So yeah, so basically, so again, to answer the question, you just need to go in and you can change it. Just be really, really, really careful before you do change it. That's all. Um, we have two more questions. Got one question from John. Hey, John. Uh, what if you have a service area of 50 miles? This was direct to me, by the way, Alex. Surface area of 50 miles, but one storefront services the entire area. Having multiple storefronts would not make financial sense and not needed. In short, one store services 50 miles. Well, John, sorry. I hate to give you the answer, but the answer is it's not going to work unless you're in the middle of Kansas. Um, it's just not going to happen. You're not going to rank in 50 miles. You need to have multiple locations. Again, financial sense, the capex investment here is can make actual sense. 100% it can. You just need to be able to get enough business from that location. Just like a McDonald's wouldn't throw down a location in the middle of nowhere where there's a say 100 people that live in say a city. Um, they would make a decision based on population and competition, and that's how you need to do it as well. Population competition. If you are in 50 miles, then the fact of the matter is in that 50 miles you're going to have dead zones. But guess what? Who cares? Dead zone's a dead zone until it grows. um Another question from AJ. Thanks for sharing your knowledge. We have real estate franchises. If a second location needs to be created, can it be the exact same name as the original? This is a great question. Can it be the exact same name as the original one? And does posting content on your GPP help with ranking? Backwards? No. Posting content on your GPP does not help ranking. Full stop. Customer experience only, conversion only. Secondly, can they be the same name? Absolutely, they can be the same name. As a matter of fact, if you're planning on having more than 10 locations, you are going to want them to be the same name. This way, you qualify for something which is called bulk verification. Bulk verification actually bypasses the need for doing any kind of video verification when you're opening a new location. Extremely important for franchisees. For some reason, a lot of franchisors actually ignore the fact that you can do bulk verification. Either that or they just don't know about it. Again, bulk verification, the main thing that's important about it, you can open a new location without having to do video verification. So, and you're up on Google within 7 seconds. Full stop. So, if you're a Zor, do your research on bulk verification or get in contact. If you're a Z, if you have yourself more than 10 locations, you can actually look into bulk verification. It's a little bit more difficult, but it can be done. But yes, they can all be the same name. Again, Google understands the verification address, so it knows where you're at, basically, I guess is where it comes down to. The only difference there is if somebody are actually, no, it's not a difference. If somebody's in the city and they're looking for you, they're still going to find you. Next question from Amanda. If we add the appointment required in the more info page, will it help with customers knowing versus them coming to the office? Amanda, you want to avoid actually having appointment required anywhere on your Google business profile. Again, it just kind of puts a target on your back. Appointment required is not allowed by GBP. So by doing that, I understand you want to give your customer the most information that you have and be as accurate as you want. But appointment required is really going to maybe at the end of the day hurt you more than it's going to help you. Next question. This comes from Steve. Hey, Steve. What about name change from, this is a great question, Flying Locksmiths to Fly Lock Security Solutions? The locksmith industry hasn't very well on Google with many scammers. Oh gosh, trust me, I know that. We specialize in getting locksmiths actually unsuspended. It's freaking crazy. If you're going to make the change, basically, again, back to the guidelines, you need to make sure all of your documentation is proper, is done correctly. More than likely, you're going to be dealing with DBAs, number one. Also, with locksmiths, I encourage you to get as much documentation as you can, meaning that get a Better Business Bureau profile accredited, get your Chamber of Commerce, get a utility bill in the DBA name, not your personal name, not your LLC's name. If they require the LLC, fine. Do your LLC with a DBA on the actual utility bill. Same thing with business license. Get your COI. By the way, this applies to everybody. Your certificate of insurance that should also have your DBA on it. At the end of the day, everything should really have your DBA on it if you can, even your leases, everything. What Google needs to understand is that you are a real business and that you represent this business. Those are the two most important factors when it comes to Google understanding who you are as an entity. Because 90% of the time you make this change, you're in a direct, what's called a duress category, which there's about 20 or 30 of them, which includes garage door and real estate, by the way, and insurance, because all of these industries have abused Google in one way or another. And so basically, yeah, just make sure you've got all of your stuff together. So that way, if and when you get suspended, you're ready to get back online, because otherwise you're just going to be down. I've got locksmiths. We work with some of the biggest franchises in the United States, and they go down all the time. It's unfortunate, but it is the nature of the beast. Thank the lead gen companies. They brought us here to this point. All right, Alex, got 7 minutes,
Ben,
man,
we're on the
or
seven
more. And
minute, yep,
we can
seven
we can
minute
go longer if
mark.
you want to. By the way,
Perfect. And we have another question that was submitted over email. So I'll actually start out with ultimately the challenges and then I'll get into the question. They're having a hard time connecting the dots of which specific leads. So not the volume of leads, but who that actual lead is generated by which campaign, making it very hard to attribute any sort of value to the set campaign. Do you have any secrets for lead attribution when it comes down to Google campaigns, UTMs, enhanced conversions, etc.?
UTM's is pretty much the answer. It's going to be the only answer, actually. Um, Having a really good CRM is key. And we've been talking a lot about service-based businesses, but this kind of applies across the board. Using something like, HubSpot, specifically if in the service industry, using something like Service Titan is key, right? Because let's face it, as a Z, we're in the business of servicing customers. We're not in the business of marketing at all, right? As a matter of fact, I don't think I've run into many franchisees that really understand marketing amazingly, right? So you need software to kind of connect the dots at the end of the day. And like I said, your CRM is really your friend. It's not going to be Google Search Console. It's not going to be Google Analytics. Yes, you have to have those set up. But the reality is, how many of you actually go into Google Analytics? I'm in the marketing business. I don't go into Google Analytics much, So I have software that just tells me the answer to what I'm looking for. So yes, set up your UTMs. Set them up religiously, meaning that if you do, say, a post on Google, right? Google business profile post, set it up with a campaign so you know exactly what it is. And you can tell that something converted because of that post. There's ways to automate all this. Take advantage of that. We have another question from AJ. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. We have real estate franchises. Okay. If a second location needs to be created, can it be the exact same name as the original one and just post? Oh, wait, never mind. That was the same question. I'm sorry about that. All right. Question from Adam French. Our customers know our restaurant locations by the region they are located. Does it hurt us to name each Google listing by the brand name followed by region? For example, Illegal Pete's Northside, Park Hill, or just Illegal Pete's. Adam, the answer to that question is very simple. Illegal Pete's. Period. End of story. That is it. Google wants to know what your business name as it is represented in the real world. Meaning that if I come to your restaurant, what does the signage say? I'm going to assume it's Illegal Pete's. Now, If you change your signage, which I've only seen personal injury companies really do, then then basically yes, you can absolutely do it. But from a ranking perspective, it's not gonna help. And I'm just saying, do you have an illegal Pete's in Phoenix? Because that sounds pretty freaking awesome. Anyway, so but yeah, don't worry about the um adding the name, or I'm sorry, the city to your business name. It just it's not going to help you at the end of the day. But on the flip side of that, it's also not going to hurt you. As a restaurant, you are a physical location. You're not a cloud kitchen. Adding a couple, this is where things get crazy, by the way, the guidelines, but it's not going to hurt you as well, but it's also not going to help you. So you kind of have to balance those two things out. Um, I can tell you one experience that I've had with a customer, and that is their brand was over 70 years old. And I'm not going to go into who that was, but very, very well known brand. And they did have city names attached to every single location that they had, over 150 locations, 150 units. Um, they went dark completely for over 6 months. They were removed from Google Maps because they did have the city name in their business name on Google. So, again, it's a risk, not a lot of reward. Okay. Steve is asking if a recording is going to be sent out, by the way.
Steve, we will be sharing a recording as soon as it processed, maybe today or latest tomorrow. And Ben, if we back up a little bit to my understanding,
Yeah.
stemming back to the question that Adam had, if you do take the approach where you have, let's say, Northside Park Hill, then that conflicts with bulk verification because, in a sense, each name is also unique, correct?
Oh, you can't do bulk verification.
Uh,
100%. Yeah, no,
yeah.
you have to have 10 locations and they have to be the same exact name.
What would be some of the best practices if a brand already has the city extension to their name and they want to convert and make it illegal Pete's across the board? Is that something that's putting them at risk of suspension if
Of
they do
course.
choose to do that change?
Yeah. I mean, the general rule of thumb is that anything that you do to your Google Business profile, sometimes I like to say breathing on your Google Business profile will actually cause a suspension. It can. Just looking at it can cause a suspension. It's kind of nuts. Um, anyway, so many stories about that. Um, just make sure you have your documents in order. That's all. In the case of something like Illegal Pete's, it's a storefront. It's a restaurant. It's got signage. It's got citations. It's got history, right? People know probably Illegal Pete's as a brand. If it's a franchise, they absolutely know, right? Definitely more than one, probably one location. Uh, so Google looks at these data points, right? And can assume that the business is probably legitimate. And so, therefore, if you're making the name change, it's probably going to just go fine. It's not going to be that big of a deal. I still say make sure that you are in the guidelines and that you have all your stuff. Make sure you have your ducks in a row. Um, and then you can go ahead and make the change. When you do make the change, I don't know how many illegal Pete's are out there, but let's assume that, let's say there's 20, right? And all 20 are out of the guidelines. Fine. Make a change to the least trafficked restaurant first. Therefore, if it gets suspended, at least it's not going to hurt that bad versus, say, a downtown, Los Angeles location, right? That's going to hurt. You're going to lose a ton of business because of that. So start with your least trafficked store first and then move up the chain. Make one change, wait for it to be accepted, which could take 5 seconds, 5 days, 30 days, and then move on to the next one.
Sounds good advice. Um, we'll open it up if anybody else in the audience has last minute questions, but we're 2 minutes over the hour. I see some people already jumping off. Um,
Yeah, we're a couple people have gone.
Perfect. I think on that note, Ben, thank you so much for your expertise, for sharing your knowledge. If anybody has any subsequent follow-up questions that come to mind, feel free to reach out directly to Ben Fisher. He's here to help. And thank you for tuning in for CMO Peer Talk.